All right, everybody. We are live on LinkedIn. So we had a little bit of a delay because of the technology, and I don't know what was going on. Long story short, I tried logging out from my desktop and then used my Apple computer. So now it is live. But the only thing is, my video looks like I'm talking to my own ghost. So never mind.
Right from that.
Never mind. We have beautiful Catherine right here. So without further ado, first of all, thank you all so much for logging in, for tuning in. Please let us know your support in the comments. If you are watching us live on any other platforms, on let's say Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, anywhere, just leave us a comment so that way we will know that the comment section is working.
A little hello,
So
never
I
anybody.
know.
Come on.
Right. Hello, hello, everybody. Please, we need your support. This is actually the third episode of our LinkedIn Live podcast, if you can call. And I'm so honored to have a great guest joining with us to share their wisdom with all of you. And today we're going to talk about, the content, how we can create a compelling content to attract that right talent, to attract that right candidates, if you will. And the guest that we have on with us right now is the expert in that storytelling, expert in that compelling, content creation, if you will. And especially, let's say I was just Googling on in general to see how that first point of attention or attraction comes for a candidate in order to submit a job application. And believe it or not, it's your job postings, right? Whatever content you have out there on your social media, on your career site, or on your employee blog or your employee ambassador hashtag, whatever you can name. Long story short, the first and primary tool or first and primary platform a job seeker would get that attention is your job posting, especially if it is a small business. I know who I'm talking to. I know your challenges, and I'm here to help with our wonderful guest, Katrina Kibben. I'm sorry. Katrina Kibben. She's the CEO and founder of 3 Years Media, and she's an expert in the compelling content creation. Katrina, without further ado, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. I really, really appreciate it.
How are you doing today?
I'm doing awesome now that we're live, got the sound, everything's great.
Awesome. Thank you so much. So, if there is anybody out there who doesn't know of who you are and what you do, I would appreciate if you can give them a brief overview of your background.
Of course. So my name is Katrina Kibben. Like Nisha said, I'm the founder and CEO of 3 Years Media. And at 3 Years Media, we teach recruiters to write. I think when I look back on my career, so I've spent time in marketing departments for HR technology companies. I've spent time on the recruiting side as part of an employer brand agency. I've been a managing editor of a blog about recruiting. So I joke that I've got my PhD in recruiting, right? Like I know content. And what I realized is that there are so many problems to solve in this space.
Mhm.
In HR technology, in HR, in recruiting, and I can keep listing all of the areas where I think we can grow. But I think that the one place where we can create the most impact across the board is by teaching our teams to write. Because if you can write something that's amazing, that can make that really incredible impact on the job posting, for example, as we were mentioning that, I saw a stat last week, 92.8% of candidates go through the job posting as part of their decision-making process. Over 90%, right?
Yeah.
So if you act like it doesn't matter, I think you're setting yourself up for failure. And so many of the components of a great candidate experience, of a great interaction, are write-based. And so I created a company that both teaches people to write and, of course, we are copywriters as well. And we do some of that writing to everything from career sites to the job postings and email automation.
Hmm. And it's one unique thing that we have. I mean, I see in you is that you come from a background where you have figured out social media, you have figured out that copyright content, and you know the recruiting world. You worked in that recruiting world, and you're a marketing expert. Right mix and right recipe for a person to share with others, like professionals like me, right, who are going out there to attract candidates, whatever communication that we are doing, be it a outreach email or just a cold calling or LinkedIn invite or LinkedIn email, or let's say retaining a candidate that you've already talked to who having, or who haven't had a chance to get through that final stage, but yet maybe a great fit for another opening that can come up. So in every day, I deal with it, and I know the challenges that I have, and I'm pretty sure recruiters out there and employers out there know this challenge in terms of, okay, how do we create a compelling communication? So let's talk about one by one, if you will. Let's talk about that job posting, because you said 92% of the candidates out there are looking for that content from the job posting to create that connection, to have that connection, right? What's in it for me? I mean, if everybody's sharing the same thing, if you're gonna sit there and copy paste,
Exactly.
how do you differentiate yourself, right?
Yeah,
So what our employers can do in order to differentiate themselves to create a compelling job posting?
absolutely. So I think the first thing that we have to do, and this is advice for every piece of content we're about to talk about, not just the job posting,
Mm-hmm.
is that you have to be very in tune with what that person wants
Mm-hmm.
and what they need. If you cannot answer the question, what's the best person for this job like?
Mm-hmm.
You cannot write for this person. You cannot write to this person because you don't know them. You would never write a letter to a stranger without asking questions, right?
Yeah, true.
We write a ton of questions without any intel, nothing. And so the first thing I would say is no matter what you're writing, know who you're writing for, know what they care about, because that will make your content better by default.
Mm-hmm.
So with the job posting, I consider myself almost a job posting expert, but I forced myself into it. So this time last year, I
Mm-hmm.
actually did a free job rewrite on my website. And for over 200 people,
Mm-hmm.
I sat down with them one-on-one and I rewrote their job for free. I don't
Awesome.
offer this anymore, by the way. I got too much stuff on my plate. But I did this as almost a research study because I believe that I genuinely thought that different companies of different sizes would have different challenges when it came to job postings. And I really wanted to understand what that was. I was wrong. Every company I spoke to, whether it was a 50-person team, a HR department of one, a government agency, even I spoke with people around the world. I wrote job posts in South Africa, London. I mean, just crazy stuff. Every single team had the same issues. The first one,
Mm-hmm.
lots of brand first tone and jargon. We are a Fortune 500 company.
Oh yeah.
I'm not. And most of them start that way, which is
Uh-huh.
a problem in itself. Because why would you ever lead an interest and attraction with, did I tell you about me?
I know, right? And
Right?
about the hiring manager and about the team.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's the other one. They don't know what's not important. That
Mm-hmm.
became very obvious. And I heard that exact phrase a lot. I just don't know what's not important. So I include everything.
Mm-hmm.
I want to put all of the stuff in there. And
Mm-hmm.
I think the other piece that I kept hearing was that they were guessing,
Mm-hmm.
truly guessing in every aspect of the job posting.
Mm-hmm.
And so what I tell people is that better job postings start with better intake.
Mm-hmm.
So you cannot, again, I know a lot of people let their hiring managers write the job.
Yeah, yeah.
If that's the case, you still
Mm-hmm.
have a facilitated conversation with them,
Mm-hmm.
understand what the most important information is. And I want you to ask questions that are not based on skills. So never again would I like someone who's on this call right now to say, so what are the required skills for this role?
Mm-hmm.
Cut it. Here's the question you're going to ask instead. What will this person do every day?
Mm-hmm.
In 1 year,
Mm-hmm.
what will they have accomplished that will make you so happy?
Mm-hmm.
And here's the third question.
Mm-hmm.
If I brought you a resume without this, you'd
Mm-hmm.
laugh in my face. And I love that question
I
because
love
it
that.
totally
That's
made
fun.
me kind of giggle.
Uh-huh.
They let go and they're like, okay, you get me. You get that I've had a bad experience with other recruiters,
Mm-hmm.
that I might need a little more information and coaching to get this done.
Mm-hmm.
And you make yourself a little vulnerable to them so that they can really connect with you.
Mm-hmm. Well, the three questions, amazing. I mean, everybody who is listening, please utilize this great insights that right there. So when you are talking to that hiring manager, definitely the first thing I mean, there's no doubt. Okay, these are the skills, these are the requirements. I need so and so, this many years of experience, and blah 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 blah. The list comes on. But when it comes to what's in it for the candidate, right? I mean, nobody asked that question. So thanks for bringing that up. In let's say, as a recruiter, right, when they are saying with the hiring manager, of course we have this timeline, of course we need to get this posted as soon as possible, like yesterday, of
Always
course
get
we need to submit candidates, right? But instead of taking that long haul road, okay, we are submitting all these wrong candidates, they're not going to be a right fit, we are looking for purple squirrel, all that makes sense. But why can't we do this at the very beginning by asking the right question, taking a little time to draft that job posting? Great insights right there.
And I'll give you
So
one more little tip on that.
please
You're
bring it.
having that conversation,
Mm-hmm.
record and transcribe it.
Mm-hmm.
Record and transcribe. So the cheapest way I have found to do that
Uh-huh.
is I use QuickTime on my laptop to record the conversation.
Okay.
And then I use a tool called Temi, Temi.
TEMI.
Yep,
Okay.
Temi.
Mm-hmm.
It's 10 cents a minute. You submit the audio file, it
Uh-huh.
transcribes it within 5 minutes. And usually you can take that content and use it verbatim in your job posting. So for
This
teams
is
who are
amazing.
struggling with speed and creativity,
Mm-hmm.
take what people say and just edit it down.
Oh, this is amazing, because you don't even have to rely on your notes, and then you don't have to type, and then you don't have to,
Yeah.
leave any comments that you are getting from the hiring managers.
The biggest thing
So QuickTime and Timmy, please check it out. These tools, and this can be integrated, I guess.
yes, it's very easy.
Perfect.
No technical know-how needed.
Okay. Perfect. Sounds great. So let's go back to the job posting. Structure, if you will. And I see the point that you shared, that most of the organization go with the norm. Okay, we are Fortune 500 company, we are best in the industry, or best in the financial sector, or IT sector, and all that. But in order to start a summary, you kind of talked about what this person will do every single day, and talking about the accomplishments that this person will have after that 1 year, right? But when it comes to creating a job posting, what would you say are some of the best wordings out there that you have seen, or
Yeah.
that you would recommend to your clients?
Yeah. So one of the things that I tell people a lot, because I get a lot of phone calls about this, is Katrina, I want you to write us a template library. And I
Okay.
tell them that's not what I do. Or is really shocked. Like,
For each and every job at template library. Sounds
I
interesting.
would like one paragraph for each function. Then
Uh-huh.
I need that function tailored to that country. Then I need it function to the sub team. And so we'd like about 400 paragraphs of no. Here's my thing with the templates and why I refuse.
Mm-hmm.
If I were to sit down and create 7 templates for you today,
Mm-hmm.
in 7 years, you'd come back to me and say, Katrina, I need 7 more templates. And I don't want to be that kind of business person. I'm not
Yeah.
that kind of trainer or teacher either.
Yeah.
And so what I teach people is to lean on structure, not
Mm-hmm.
templates.
Mm-hmm.
Put your team on a structure that's very consistent,
Mm-hmm.
but not templates. And here's what I mean.
Mhm.
Here's my ideal structure, and I'll walk you guys through kind of each paragraph. Basically, what I tell people is you should tell them what to accomplish in each
Mhm.
paragraph, and they should know how to do that. And that's how you level up your team. So this is how my training works. So
Mhm.
the first paragraph is about soft skills.
Okay.
I tell people in the first paragraph, you need to make someone's heart beat. It's almost
Yeah.
like that
I want to do this, right?
da, da, right? And here's an example of how I might do that.
Mhm.
For someone who's very customer service, right? They're kind of that first impression.
Mhm.
So my first sentence might sound a little like this.
Uh-huh.
You're the first thing they see when they walk in and the last
Mhm.
thing they'll remember because you were there for them.
Yeah, I agree.
That feels different than we're looking for a detail-oriented, customer service valuing individual who can help our team strive to right? It
Yeah.
feels different. So that first paragraph is about tapping into the heart.
Mhm.
What do they feel? What do they care about? Here's a great one for somebody who does Excel.
Mhm.
You are everyone's go-to Excel friend, right?
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be fluffy. It's not like you're highly empathetic and you give lots of hugs. Like you put the work they do in a context
Mhm.
that's real. The next paragraph is about your company.
Mhm.
In an ideal world, here's reality. Reality. Most companies just hand you that paragraph and you have to use it. The end. Use
Yeah.
that. I don't care. Do what the lawyers say.
Mhm.
If you have flexibility, I want you to work on a sentence. The sentence works a little bit like this. We help blank, do blank by blanking.
Okay. That's great. I wish if I can tweet it out or share it on the comments.
Yep.
Please, somebody do that for me.
So I'll do one for the American Heart Association, right?
Yeah.
At the American Heart Association, we help people become educated
Mhm.
about heart health so they can
Mhm.
live longer lives.
Mhm.
How much more no offense, how much more compelling could that be than like a long PR paragraph? You
Mhm.
can
Yeah.
tailor that sentence to the job.
Mhm.
As a marketer at the American Health Association, you create the materials that live in people's homes, that tell the story and remind them to take care of their heart so they can live to see their kids graduate from high school. I'm making
Mhm.
that up, but right, so it's this formula that tells them what's in it for them and why this job matters at this company, why this
Mhm.
company matters in the world.
Mhm.
Then you're going to talk about the skills. You have to do that. Either
Sure.
a bulleted list for highly niche jobs, or if you're hiring like a corporate role, let's say I was like pulling a marketing person from a similar company,
Mhm.
a paragraph about a day in the life. And then you put
Yeah.
whatever lawyer stuff you want, you're out.
Mhm.
So it goes soft skills, company overview,
Mhm.
actual skills, social
Mhm.
skills is what I would call it,
Mhm.
and then what the legalese.
Legal, yeah, the legal mandate, right?
Yep,
Yeah,
because you always make your lawyers and your marketers happy.
sounds great. So soft skills, company overview, actual skills, and legal. And I really like the fact that you talked about, the fill in the blanks, right? In we have a lot of tools right there, and then the visual comes into place, the video comes into place, and I see that more and more organizations are getting into the video aspect of it, creating a general overview of what it is like to work within that organization and attaching that visual presentations to a job. What's your take on that one?
I would say I like video as a concept. I'm a big fan. I would suggest that you actually go to your candidates and your current employees first and see
Mm-hmm.
if video is something that resonates with them.
Mm-hmm.
For example, I just completed a recruiting persona project
Mm-hmm.
for behavioral therapists for kids with autism.
Oh, okay.
And they are most of their demographic, it's
Mhm,
that 25 to 35 female second career. I mean, there's a very distinct demographic among their hires. Well, when we went in and did the persona research, they all told us we don't watch video, it takes too long.
mhm. Yeah.
So I think video is very compelling conceptually. I think it is a good recommendation, but you have to confirm. Always
Okay.
confirm your channels with people, because that should inform confirm to inform your media strategy. You shouldn't be on channels that your people don't like.
Yeah, true, true. So it's comes down to the point that, meeting the people where they are and what works for them, right? And chances are the video might not work for all the type of jobs out there. And just like the other day we were talking about video interviewing, that's another aspect, another conversation, right?
Yeah.
But there are some folks who likes, there are some folks who don't. So same way, same scenario. So I'm gonna chime into our comment section and give a huge shout out to people who have already joined with us. Mahinder CP, huge respect to him. He was my boss, my manager, my mentor while I was working in India back in Reliance Communications. So thank you for joining. And Michael Goldberg, thank you so much for your support all the time.
Yeah.
And he has a question. What's the hardest job posting to write and why?
Ooh, that's a good one.
Yeah.
The hardest job posting is writing a job posting for someone who doesn't want to read. So the hardest industry for me so far, where I've tested many things and I still have not figured out the exact formula, is trucking. Truck drivers drive for 12 hours a day.
Wow.
And if you think that they're going to read a 500-word job posting on this little guy without killing someone
Yeah.
or running the truck off the road, they're not, right? And I've worked with probably 3 or 4 companies now, and we've all tried different things. And we've seen some changes, but the reason it's hard is because it's hard to make it sound different, because it's not.
Yeah.
Not different.
Yeah.
And it's hard to write something that's very compelling, that tells the whole story in the amount of time and attention that I can keep from them, which is not very long at all. I think we have about 22 seconds before they bounce. That's the average that we figured out from time on site.
Wow. And I remember one conversation that I had at a conference, and somebody had mentioned billboards.
Yeah.
I know it's old school. I know it's old school and going back to the normal norm of the old days, but it works for some group. Yeah, it works for some group. Definitely. So Vishal Nagda, thank you so much for joining in. And he had a comment. You should have defined job template structure. And every time a new role comes up, you should have all the information a candidate needs to know to decide if this is the right job for them. This includes the role itself, the company culture, and the skills which are needed for the role. So we're talking about the company culture and how we as the story writers, right, to add that information to the job posting, and how a job candidate or a job seeker would know by reading that job posting. It's kind of really hard, right? What's your suggestions and insights to our audience?
Yeah. I think the first thing I would say is don't worry about it too much, right? Don't put so much pressure that you have to tell the whole story here. But I would give you this one tactic. A lot of times we fall back to buzzwords when it comes to skills, right? We talk about, okay, I'm going to do it. Ready, bingo. Get your bingo cards out. Collaboration.
Oh, yeah.
Strategic. Team player. Okay. And all of those words have meaning, but they do not have universal meaning. And one of the best ways that you can tell your culture story, and this can be kind of a filter for you, pull the job post, give yourself a day, let it sit, write it, let it sit. And then I want you to pull it back up and I want you to highlight those words: collaboration, teamwork, whatever. And then ask yourself, how is that different here? When I say collaboration, what makes collaboration special at my company? Erase the word collaboration and write that.
Okay.
When I say team player, what does being a part of the team mean here? Erase that and write that. That is culture. Culture is the translation of skills into experiences, things people can feel, because skills are not a universal language.
This is amazing technique of translating that, one word into a meaningful wealth of information for your job candidates. If you can translate that skills into, experience and what it is like that you really value within the organization. So thank you so much for sharing that.
Sure.
So one tool that we are utilizing at American Heart Association, I'm pretty sure other companies are utilizing it too, is Textio.
Yep.
Right. What's your, and I'm pretty sure some organizations out there, especially the small organization and some nonprofits, they might not have the budget all the time. And that's where, Katrina and this show comes into life, where you need to get that insights right from the expert. But going back to those tools, what's your opinion about? Okay, we might not be that creative in terms of considering the timeline that we have. We might not be able to sit and realize, okay, this has to be a well drafted job posting, and if so, here is the tool.
Yep.
But what's your idea of utilizing a tool instead of making this as a whole process, a consistent process for each and every recruiter, for the entire talent acquisition function, if you will? Give us a little insights on, okay, we have this tool, but it's more than that.
Yeah. So I love Textio as a validation element.
Mm-hmm.
I think it is excellent as far as guiding you towards the right thing. I am not a fan of any tool that generates the ad for you. I am
Mm-hmm.
not, because, and this is feedback from my clients and a little bit of my own insight. The thing they tell me most often is it feels fluffy. It doesn't feel real.
Mm-hmm.
It goes back to that whole collaboration, right? Like, of course, the machine is going to say collaboration because everyone says collaboration. It
Yeah.
does not have meaning.
Mm-hmm.
And the machines miss out on meaning. And so, what I would tell a team that's really trying to kind of level up and looking for tools and maybe doesn't have the budget is
Mm-hmm.
about creating centers of excellence.
Okay.
So, the most effective teams train everyone, assess everyone, and
Mm-hmm.
then make their best writers into filters. And
Mm-hmm.
here's what I mean by that: all job postings go through someone, not some machine.
Yeah.
And there's a person and a scorecard and
Mm-hmm.
a mutually agreed upon definition of good.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of what I coach as well, and making sure that people really understand. Because again, if you take templates and tools,
Mm-hmm.
what happens when the templates are old? What happens when the tools die?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So, and there are also tools like Free Bias Generator or Free Bias Monitor. I'm not quite sure what the name of it is, but there is a like free version of Textio, not as good as Textio by any means.
Mm-hmm.
That will give you a quick plus minus.
Oh, okay.
Super this or it's super that. The other thing I would say is if you can't afford a tool like that, subscribe to Textio's blog. It is
Mm-hmm.
one of my favorite blogs, and you know this about me, I write a lot. I read
Mm-hmm.
a lot.
Yeah.
It is by far one of my favorite in the industry because it gives a lot of practical, applicable data.
Mm-hmm.
Appcast as well.
Sounds great. So, agreed upon a definition of good. This is a profound thought right there. Thank you so much for sharing that. And I was just thinking about that, or wearing my recruiter or recruitment marketing or recruitment marketer hat,
Mhm.
right? So there are some out there, they have this mindset, right? Okay, we are writing story, we are expanding out on this word collaboration or teamwork, or and then missing out on keywords, if you will, that helps the SEO works, right? So help our audience to kind of understand, okay, SEO is there, search engine
Yeah.
optimization. It's that's one tool that help your content get noticed or get visible more on Google. Just in case if you don't know, but let's say going back to that story of expanding out the thought, expanding out it as a storytelling, and
Mhm.
getting rid of the keywords from there. But at the same time, okay, we need to make sure that it's search engine optimized. What's your take on that?
Yes. So has anyone who's watching this ever Googled collaboration jobs in Austin, Texas?
Mm-hmm.
No, you have not, right?
No, I don't.
I actually have two slides that when I present this topic,
Okay.
I show the first slide and it's all these Boolean strings. And I was like, this is how a sourcer searches for diapers. Diapers plus cushion, diapers plus padding, no leak, diapers plus quotes, no leak, right? And I show that because I'm like, this is how we search and how we understand search across the board. Not even sourcers, recruiters, HR, all of us.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, and here's how candidates search. And on the next slide, it just says marketing manager, Columbus, Ohio. Okay.
Yeah.
So I would tell you, if you're concerned about SEO, one, you're always going to have that paragraph of skills. You're going to tell them what they're going to do today. And remember, you asked the hiring manager, what has to be on the resume for you to not laugh at me? That's in your job posting.
Yeah.
If you're concerned about search, you need to focus on the job title. You can use tools like Google Trends to see how candidates search.
Mm-hmm.
It is very enlightening because, and let me put one little asterisk here. This does not work for highly niche jobs. So my example, I always say, like, if you're looking for a dolphin brain scientist, do not use this technique because it's just a dolphin brain scientist. Like, you don't need me. The job, if you're using a title like marketing manager, accounting manager, and you're trying to decide if it should be senior accounting manager or accounting director, right? You're kind of figuring out those nuances.
Mm-hmm.
You can use Google Trends to compare each title
Mm-hmm.
to understand three things.
Mm-hmm.
The first one, you'll understand traffic with a score. So it'll tell you which one is most popular.
Mm-hmm.
This is global, by the way. So if you're sitting in India, you can literally say, I want to know how search works in India and type in your titles and it'll tell you.
Right.
It'll give you the score. It'll break it down by region. So if you are recruiting in a very small area, it'll tell you how people search in that geo. You can break it down to zip code. And the final thing it will tell you is related searches. And the thing that's most interesting about related searches is that you can tell if a title is actually related to work or related to interest. So example, customer representative. That drives to people who are complaining and want to make a return. Customer service representative returns job-related searches.
Wow.
Something
That's
as simple as that.
Yeah. Yeah,
So,
I never knew.
Job title, focus there.
Yeah, I never knew this trick. So thank you for sharing that. And going back to another conversation about the job title is that, there are some organizations, they have this one-stop, HR, one-stop shop, if you will. But there are some organizations where you have a comprehensive, compensation function, or people who are sitting and grading the job and making sure that each job getting graded and getting the right salary allocated to it. And internally, they might have different terminologies, right? You can call, whatever internally within the organization, but externally, it can be a standard language or standard job title, if you will. So what's your take on, how to get more qualified applicants, yet at the same time, um, not restricting that job title by having it is used as having to use something that you are using internally, but that makes sense for externally as well.
Yeah. Well, so I always tell people there's two versions. There's actually three versions of your job. There's the job description, the itemized, every little detail. It's the legal document. I joke, it lives in a filing cabinet forever. Never shall it come out with post-signature or offboarding, right? Like, it lives there, and that can have one title. But you can use that Google Trends methodology to pick a title that will get you traffic. The other piece I would tell you is I would go out and look at a few resumes and see what kind of history they've had, what job titles they've used. So let's say you pull 4 resumes and you're like, these are the 4 I'm going to give to the hiring manager. Look at those titles. Let's say all 4 don't work out, God forbid. You look at all 4 and you're kind of having your recap. look at those titles and maybe adjust your title. That would be my first change. If you're like, I need more people now, because that's the number one influence on search. When I go to monster.com, I go to indeed.com, I do not type in a skill in a location. I type in a title and a location. So keep working on those titles. And the other thing I would tell you is figure out what channel they're on and start to do some advertising, very specific channel advertising.
So, okay. So another comment that comes from LinkedIn, Michael Goldberg, he's talking about you still have to source. The posting is a brand statement. So, well, talking about brand statement, at American Heart Association, we are trying to do we are trying to make it better all the time when it comes to job posting or content out there, or in terms of attracting talent out there. That's right there. So it's on top of mind for us as a recruiter, for us as a talent acquisition function. So we use that brand statement in our job posting very clearly, especially our mission statement, because it's a mission oriented organization, right? And we want to make sure that people who are coming in, that's the first thing that they can relate to as an organization, and it's out there. So what if some organizations who has some kind of a restriction in terms of expanding it out to make it click, or to make it viral, just in case, because that's what the conversation is all about. Okay, how do we make our job posting go to a lot of applicant pool and get the right candidates? We all need visibility, but we need visibility to the right pool, right? So if there is any organization out there who has a little bit of a difficulty in terms of, okay, they have to be within that brand statement, but yet at the same time, it has to attract the right talent pool, and we cannot use some wordings, use some verbiage, which is not as per our brand guidelines.
Yep.
And in that case, how do they go about it?
Yeah. So I think there's kind of two ways that I've worked with companies like this, and I've worked with a lot of highly regulated firms. So I've worked with banks, I've worked with food and manufacturing, and they don't have a lot of flexibility. They just don't, especially the big ones. So what we do is, again, back to the structure. So for example, with your example with the American Heart Association, right, you're going to include that mission statement. So maybe that's the first paragraph on every job posting, because that's part of your standardization. And the next line is, here's how you'll bring that mission to life. So what I mean by that, and to explain that for everyone else, is you need to create a transition in the text that contextualizes why that's important. Because you just told me why it's important. We're a mission-based organization. That should be important to you if you want to be a part of our company. So translate the what's in it for them about what's important for you. It's important to you, and this is how it influences you. The other piece for the highly regulated, again, because most of them are like, yeah, paragraph 1 has to be this, paragraph 2 has to be this, and paragraph 5 has to be this. Have fun. That's what I get a lot. So the other place that we work on tone is with the bullets.
Okay.
So really coaching people on step 1, reframing. So just like we just talked about. So instead of required skills, we'll say, for your safety, keep this in mind.
Okay.
We contextualize why it matters instead of just keeping the standard thing. And even if all your bullets suck, that little overview just helps create a different context.
Yeah, that helps. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. So I want to take the next part of our session to talk about, the outreach emails, because that's another content that recruiters use every single day in order to attract the right talent. So what's the trick in order to have people, have candidates or applicants respond back to you?
All right. So quick plug. I have an ebook about this, and it's on my website. So 3earsmedia.com. Just go to the resources section and you can snag the ebook. So the way that I teach people is that it starts with the subject line. 67% of people only open an email because of the subject line. And I joke that the other 33% are liars. Because you never open an email with a terrible subject line. So nail the subject line. And the subject line is personal. It's super interesting to them. And it's about that research.
Mm-hmm.
So the thing that I would tell you is if you want the short answer without all the details is nail the subject line and write something that's so personal that they know it's for them.
Mm-hmm.
Here's the nuance. You're doing high volume, right? You don't have time to send one email to every single person. Sub-segment your groups. I've used a tool where you could literally like source out the people, make a small list. So I could take 12 people who all have one thing in common. Let's say they all live in California, and I could send them all an email about California. And my subject line might be California love. And it's out to a blast, but it has that one piece that makes it feel like it's just for them.
Yeah, that makes a connection too, because there you see, right? I mean, oh, there's California love. What is this? I need to, I need to figure it out.
Exactly. It piques interest. It makes you kind of go, what's that? Not now hiring. Are you interested? HR manager job available.
Oh no, yeah. Are you? And people, I mean, including me, we have this misconception in our mind that candidates are out there wanting to work with us. I mean, it's a tough competition out there, girl, right? I mean, there are many employers out there who has amazing opportunities, and candidates are evaluating, okay, which one works out better for them. So it's not just about you, it's not just about the organization, it's about the candidates, it's about the other part of the coin, other side of the coin. And I think that comes down to networking as well, because when we connect with somebody online, right, it's not just about you, it's about them. So, oh, thank you. Thank you. Well, we have a couple more minutes, and I know that you started off your journey as an expert on social media, and I love social media a lot. And without, I cannot, resist myself without talking about content on social media. And I've seen that many organizations out there are doing what it is like to work within their organization. And if you look at LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, or wherever the social media platform, we have this branded content that comes with their employer brand hashtag. So how can an organization stand out, yet at the same time they're utilizing that each and every point of that content is a compelling one?
Yeah.
What's your take on that?
I think we need to let people tell their stories and put those out front, but not in the way that most people are doing it today. So the way that most people do it today is that it comes across as almost like someone had a gun to their head and they were like, say something nice. Did you have maternity leave? Right? I mean, it does. It just feels so forced. And then you have this like perfect picture and they're like wearing the t-shirt and you're like, okay, I know the designer got a hold of this. I think we need to get more real. We need to have the blurry stuff. We need to take our brand guidelines and give them humanity and empathy and make it interactive, not just a one-way story. I think that's kind of the thing is right now, so many people use stories and they kind of use them as their pillar and they're like, story, story, story. But at no point do they say, have you ever felt like this? Have you been there before?
Yeah.
Do you know somebody who went through this?
Yeah.
That's what humans need. They don't need more stories. They need more connections.
And connecting the dots, that makes more sense. And I guess we need more of raw information than the polished one right there, right?
Yes. I don't want photo shoots.
I
Nobody,
know.
people know. They
And
know.
no stock photos, please.
Band stock.
Well, thank you so much, Katrina. I know that within this short amount of time, there is a ton of information out there for recruiters, talent acquisition, or HR, or anybody who is, working in the people function can utilize your insights. So thank you so much for sharing your valuable thoughts to our audience. So last but not least, where can our audience connect with you and get all this information that you shared? And if there is any platform that they should definitely check it out.
Absolutely. So I am the only Katrina Kibben in the world. So if you
That's
spell my name,
amazing.
you will find me. You can also go to 3earsmedia.com, all spelled out, just like it is below me. And you have all the details here for me. So my favorite social media channel by far, I'm always on Twitter and LinkedIn. So don't hesitate to reach out and connect. I would love to talk to you there.
Alrighty. Well, thank you so much again, and look forward to talking to you sometime soon.
Absolutely. Thank you again.
Thanks. Bye bye. Bye, everybody. Thank you all for joining with us.